The Awakening of Earth. In the vast expanse of space, where stars twinkled like distant memories, the starship Orion drifted silently through the void. Its hull was sleek and dark, designed for stealth rather than grandeur. Inside, Captain Lyra Voss stood at the helm, her gaze fixed on the holographic display flickering before her. The recent reports from New Haven Colony weighed heavily on her mind. An unprovoked assault by an alien race known as the Zenthari had left destruction in its wake. Captain, Lieutenant Jaden Cruz's voice broke through her thoughts. He was at his tactical station, his brow furrowed with concern. We've intercepted distress signals from other colonies. The Zenthari are moving quickly, we might be their next target. Lyra turned to face him, determination etched on her features. We need to gather more intelligence before we act. Samira, she called to the ship's engineer, who was busy calibrating systems nearby. Can you enhance our sensors? We need to know exactly what we're dealing with. On it, Samira replied without looking up, her fingers dancing across the control panel with practiced ease. I'll boost our range to pick up any communications from their ships. As Samira worked, Lyra felt a sense of urgency building within her. The loss of innocent lives weighed heavily on her conscience. She had always believed in protecting those who could not protect themselves. The thought of children caught in the crossfire haunted her dreams. Minutes later, Samira's voice broke through again. I'm picking up encrypted transmissions from a Zenthari ship near New Haven's orbit. She turned to Lyra with a mix of excitement and apprehension. They're discussing tactical maneuvers for an upcoming operation. Can you decode it? Lyra asked. I'll try, Samira replied, her fingers flying over the controls once more. The room fell silent as everyone focused on their tasks. Lyra took this moment to reflect on what had brought them here. Her crew had trained for years for this kind of conflict, yet nothing could prepare them for the reality of war. Suddenly, Samira's voice cut through the tension like a knife. I've got something. She turned to face Lyra with wide eyes. They're planning to strike again, this time at our main supply routes. Lyra's heart raced as she processed this information. We need to warn command immediately, she said decisively. Sending it now, Jaden confirmed as he activated the ship's communication system. As they awaited a response from Earth Command, Lyra felt a sense of dread settle over her like a heavy cloak. She knew that time was running out. If they didn't act quickly, more lives would be lost. Captain, Jaden said suddenly, his voice tense. We're receiving an incoming transmission from Admiral Hargrove. Lyra nodded sharply and activated the screen before her. Admiral Hargrove's stern face appeared in front of them, his expression grave. Captain Voss, he began without preamble, I've just received your report regarding the Zenthari threat. We cannot afford to lose any more colonies. I understand, sir, Lyra replied firmly. We need to mobilize our forces and prepare for an immediate counteroffensive. The admiral nodded slowly but looked troubled. Our resources are stretched thin after recent engagements. However, he continued after a moment's pause, we cannot let fear dictate our actions. Lyra felt a surge of hope at his words but knew that hope alone wouldn't win battles. If you can provide us with reinforcements, she suggested cautiously, the Orion can lead an operation to intercept their supply lines. Very well, Hargrove replied after considering her proposal carefully. I'll allocate additional ships to your command. Thank you, sir, Lyra said sincerely before cutting off the transmission. Turning back to her crew, she felt renewed vigor coursing through her veins. We have our orders. Prepare for immediate departure toward New Haven Colony. The crew sprang into action with newfound energy as they set course for their destination. As they approached New Haven Colony's orbit hours later, Lyra couldn't shake off the feeling that they were walking into a trap laid by an enemy who had already shown their ruthlessness. Captain, Jaden called out suddenly from his station again as they neared their target area. I'm detecting multiple Zenthari ships in formation ahead. Lyra squinted at the display screen where blips marked enemy vessels closing in around them like wolves circling prey. "We need to engage them before they can launch another attack," she ordered sharply. With adrenaline pumping through her veins and determination igniting every fiber of her being, Captain Lyra Voss prepared herself for battle, knowing that they were humanity's last line of defense against an alien threat that sought nothing less than annihilation. As she gripped the armrests of her command chair tightly while issuing orders for evasive maneuvers and weapon systems activation, she couldn't shake off one haunting thought: they killed a child. Earth's fury will be their end. The hidden secrets. As the Orion glided silently through the stars, Captain Lyra Voss gathered her crew in the briefing room. The atmosphere was tense, filled with a mix of determination and dread. Lyra stood at the front, her expression serious as she addressed her team. "Everyone, we've just intercepted critical information about the Zenthre's plans," she began, pacing slowly. "They're not just attacking colonies, they're gathering data for a full-scale invasion. We need to understand their strategy if we're going to stop them." Lieutenant Jaden Cruz leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "What do we know about their technology? How can we counter it?" "Good question," Lyra replied, gesturing for Samira Patel to display the data on the screen. "Samira, show them what we found." The engineer activated the holographic display, revealing a complex web of Zenthri ships and their projected invasion routes. "These patterns indicate that they're testing our defenses systematically," Samira explained. "They've been analyzing our shield configurations and response times, looking for weaknesses." The crew exchanged worried glances. They had always known that the Zenthri were formidable foes, but this level of strategic planning was alarming. "We need to find out more about their technology," Lyra said decisively. "If we can understand how they operate, we might be able to exploit their weaknesses." "I can access the data we extracted from that disabled ship," Jaden offered. "There might be schematics or technical manuals that could help us." "Do it," Lyra commanded. "Every piece of information counts." As Jaden worked at his station, Lyra turned to Samira. "Can you enhance our sensors even further? We need to detect any hidden Zenthri vessels before they strike again." "Already on it," Samira replied, her fingers flying over the controls. While they worked, Lyra's mind raced with thoughts of the children lost in the attacks. She couldn't shake the image of Lily Martinez running toward safety only to be struck down. That loss fueled her determination: she would not let any more lives be taken. After several tense minutes, Jaden looked up from his console with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "I've found something. There are encrypted files that appear to contain their tactical strategies." "Decrypt them," Lyra ordered. Jaden nodded and focused intently on his screen. As he worked, Lyra felt a sense of urgency wash over her. Time was running out, they needed to act before the Zenthri launched another attack. Finally, Jaden's voice broke through her thoughts. "It's done. I've decrypted the files." He turned the display toward the crew. The screen flickered to life with a series of diagrams and charts detailing Zenthri ship designs and weaponry. The crew leaned closer, studying the information intently. "This is incredible," Samira murmured. "We can see their energy signatures and weapon capabilities." Lyra pointed at one particular diagram that showcased a Zenthri battleship's shield system. "Look at this. There's a vulnerability here, an energy fluctuation in their shields during power shifts." Jaden nodded enthusiastically. "If we can exploit that during an engagement, we might be able to disable their defenses long enough for us to strike." Lyra felt a surge of hope at this discovery. "We need to prepare for an encounter with them as soon as possible. Let's devise a plan based on this intelligence." As they brainstormed strategies, Lyra felt a renewed sense of purpose among her crew. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for justice, for every life lost at the hands of the Zenthri. Hours passed as they refined their tactics and prepared for battle simulations using the newly acquired data. Each member of the crew contributed ideas and insights, showcasing human ingenuity in action. Suddenly, Samira interrupted their discussions with an urgent tone. "Captain! I'm detecting multiple Zenthari ships approaching our position." Lyra's heart raced as she quickly assessed their situation. "Battle stations. Prepare for engagement." The crew sprang into action, adrenaline surging through them as they took their positions on the bridge. "Jaden, what are their numbers?" Lyra asked while gripping her command chair tightly. 3 battleships and several smaller vessels," he replied quickly. "They're closing in fast." "Samira, can you boost our shields?" "We'll need every ounce of protection we can get," Lyra commanded. "Working on it." Samira responded as she adjusted power levels across various systems. "Zenthari ships are entering firing range," Jaden warned. "Prepare to execute evasive maneuvers," Lyra shouted as she focused on maintaining calm amidst chaos. The Orion shuddered as enemy fire erupted around them, illuminating space with bursts of energy and light. The crew worked in perfect synchrony, each member performing their duties with precision honed by countless hours of training. "Deploy countermeasures," Lyra ordered as she maneuvered the ship deftly through incoming fire. As they danced through enemy fire, Jaden called out vital information from his station. "Their shields are fluctuating. Now's our chance." "Samira, target that battleship's weak point," Lyra commanded decisively. With a nod from Samira, energy surged through the Orion's weapon systems as they locked onto their target. "Firing now," Samira announced triumphantly as she pressed the button. A powerful blast erupted from the Orion, striking directly at the vulnerable section of the Zenthari battleship's shields. The ship trembled under the impact as its defenses faltered momentarily. "Yes! We've breached their shields," Jaden cheered from his station. "Now! Let's finish what we started," Lyra shouted with fierce determination. The crew unleashed everything they had against the damaged battleship while deftly avoiding incoming fire from its comrades. They were relentless, driven by anger and grief over those who had suffered at the hands of these invaders. As explosions lit up space around them and enemy vessels began to falter under their assault, Lyra felt an overwhelming sense of pride for her crew, a group united by purpose and resilience in facing adversity head-on. But just when victory seemed within reach, an alarm blared across the bridge, a warning that sent chills down everyone's spine. "Captain! A massive Zenthari warship is emerging from hyperspace," Jaden exclaimed in disbelief. Lyra's heart sank as she turned to face this new threat looming before them, an ominous shadow against the backdrop of stars that promised destruction and despair. "We need to regroup," she shouted over the chaos unfolding around them. With renewed urgency coursing through her veins, Captain Lyra Voss prepared for yet another battle against an enemy that would stop at nothing until Earth learned what it meant to face true fury, the wrath born from loss and vengeance against those who dared harm humanity's children. The call to arms. The bridge of the Orion was a whirlwind of activity as Captain Lyra Voss absorbed the gravity of the situation. The holographic display flickered with data from the recently intercepted Zenthari communications, revealing their calculated plans for invasion. With each passing moment, the urgency grew, and Lyra knew they had to act quickly. "Admiral Hargrove has authorized us to lead a special operation," Lyra announced, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "We need to gather as many resources and allies as we can before the Zenthari launch their full-scale attack." Lieutenant Jaden Cruz, still at his tactical station, nodded in agreement. "We should reach out to nearby colonies for assistance. If we can unite our forces, we stand a better chance against the Zenthari." "Good idea," Lyra replied, turning her attention to Samira Patel, who was busy analyzing the data on her console. "Samira, can you compile a list of colonies that are still operational and might be willing to join our cause?" "Already on it," Samira replied, her fingers flying over the controls. I'll prioritize those with military capabilities and resources. As Samira worked, Lyra felt a sense of determination wash over her. They were fighting not just for survival but for every child and family affected by the Zenthari's ruthless attacks. The image of Lily Martinez haunted her thoughts, a reminder of what was at stake. "Captain," Jaden called out suddenly, interrupting her reverie. "I've just received a distress signal from Colony Delta 5. They're under attack." Lyra's heart sank at the news. Colony Delta 5 had been one of the first settlements established in this sector, a place filled with families and children. "Set a course for Delta 5 immediately," Lyra commanded. "We can't let them suffer alone." The crew sprang into action, their movements efficient and purposeful as they prepared for departure. Within moments, the Orion was en route to the beleaguered colony. As they approached Delta 5's coordinates, Lyra's stomach twisted with anxiety. The view outside revealed a chaotic scene, Zenthari ships swarming around the colony like vultures circling their prey. Bright flashes of energy erupted from defensive turrets as they fought valiantly against overwhelming odds. "Captain, we're detecting heavy damage to their shield grid," Jaden reported grimly. "They won't hold out much longer. Deploy drones," Lyra ordered without hesitation. "We need to create a distraction and draw their fire away from Delta 5. A swarm of microdrones launched from the Orion, scattering through space like a cloud of fireflies. As they zipped toward the enemy ships, they emitted signals that mimicked distress calls, drawing attention away from the colony. "Now's our chance," Lyra shouted as she maneuvered the Orion into position behind one of the larger Zenthari vessels. "Firing weapons," Samira announced as she targeted their shields. The Orion unleashed a barrage of energy blasts that struck true, hitting the Zenthari ship's exposed flank. The enemy vessel shuddered under the impact, its shields flickering dangerously. "Direct hit. Their shields are down," Jaden cheered. "Keep pressing. We need to take out their command ship," Lyra commanded fiercely. The crew worked together seamlessly as they engaged in battle against overwhelming odds. The Zenthari ships returned fire, but Lyra skillfully piloted the Orion, evading incoming blasts while maintaining pressure on their enemies. As explosions lit up space around them, Lyra felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through her veins. They were fighting for every life on Delta 5, every child who deserved safety and security. Suddenly, Samira's voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, I'm detecting an energy spike from one of the Zenthari ships." Lyra's heart raced as she realized what that meant. "They're preparing to launch an orbital strike on Delta 5. We have to stop them." "Jaden, target their weapon systems," she ordered urgently. With precision and determination, Jaden locked onto their target. "Firing now." The Orion unleashed another volley of energy blasts that struck true once more, hitting the Zenthari ship just as it was about to unleash its devastating weaponry. The enemy vessel erupted in a brilliant explosion, sending debris scattering across space. "Direct hit. Their weapons are offline," Jaden exclaimed triumphantly. Lyra felt a wave of relief wash over her but knew there was still much work to do. "Let's finish this. Target their remaining ships and protect Delta 5. The crew rallied together as they pressed forward against the remaining Zenthari forces. Each blast fired from the Orion was fueled by determination, their resolve strengthened by thoughts of those they fought for. As they engaged in battle, Lyra noticed something unusual on her sensors, a small Zenthari craft breaking away from its formation and heading toward Delta 5. "What is that ship doing?" she wondered aloud. "It looks like it's trying to escape," Jaden replied, tracking its movements closely. Lyra narrowed her eyes at the screen. "No one gets away. Let's intercept it before it can warn others." With deft maneuvers, she piloted the Orion toward the fleeing craft while issuing commands for weapons systems activation. "Prepare to fire," she called out as they closed in on their target. Just as they were about to engage, however, something unexpected happened. The small ship transmitted a message directly to them. "What is it saying?" Samira asked curiously. Jaden focused intently on his console as he translated the incoming communication. "It's surrendering? They're asking for asylum." Lyra hesitated for a moment. This was an opportunity unlike any other. But could they trust this Zenthari? "What do you think?" she asked her crew. "We could gain valuable intelligence," Jaden suggested cautiously. "If they're willing to share information about their plans." Lyra weighed her options carefully before making a decision that could alter everything. "Bring them aboard." As they secured the small craft alongside the Orion, Lyra felt both excitement and trepidation about what lay ahead. This could be humanity's chance to turn the tide against an enemy that had caused so much pain and suffering. When the hatch opened and a lone figure emerged, a Zenthari soldier clad in dark armor, Lyra felt an unexpected mix of fear and curiosity wash over her. "I am Kale," he introduced himself with surprising calmness despite being surrounded by humans ready for battle. "I wish to help you." Lyra exchanged glances with her crew before stepping forward cautiously. "Why should we trust you?" Kale looked directly into her eyes with an intensity that made her heart race. "Because I have seen what my people are capable of, and I no longer want any part in it." In that moment, Captain Lyra Voss realized that this encounter could change everything, the beginning of an alliance forged in desperation against an overwhelming enemy determined to extinguish humanity's light once and for all. As tensions eased slightly aboard the Orion, Lyra felt hope rekindle within her heart, a flicker of possibility amidst chaos, and knew that together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead with unwavering strength and resilience against all odds. The battle begins. The Orion hung in the void, a solitary beacon against the vast darkness of space. Captain Lyra Voss stood at the helm, her heart pounding as she prepared for the inevitable confrontation with the Zenthari warship that had emerged from hyperspace. The crew was tense, each member acutely aware of the stakes. They were not just fighting for their lives, they were fighting for the future of humanity. "Status report." Lyra barked, her voice cutting through the silence. "Shields at full power, weapons primed and ready," Jaden Cruz replied from his tactical station, his fingers dancing over the controls. "We've got multiple Zenthari ships on our sensors, 3 battleships and several smaller vessels. Samira, can we boost our sensor range to track their movements?" Lyra asked, her eyes narrowing as she studied the tactical display. "Already enhancing," Samira Patel responded, her focus unwavering as she adjusted the ship's systems. "We need every advantage we can get." As the crew prepared for battle, Lyra couldn't shake off the image of Lily Martinez, the child whose life had been cut short by the Zenthari's ruthless attacks. That memory fueled her resolve, she would not let any more innocent lives be lost. Suddenly, an alarm blared across the bridge. "Captain! The Zenthari are launching their attack!" Jaden shouted, his voice filled with urgency. "Evasive maneuvers. Prepare to engage." Lyra commanded, gripping her chair tightly as she felt the ship lurch beneath her. The Orion danced through space, dodging incoming fire from the enemy ships. Bright flashes illuminated the darkness as energy blasts whizzed past them. Lyra focused on maintaining control while issuing commands to her crew. "Target their lead battleship. We need to take out their command structure," she ordered. Jaden locked onto their target and fired a volley of energy blasts. The Orion rocked as it returned fire, striking true against the Zenthari ship's shields. The enemy vessel shuddered under the impact but remained operational. "They're returning fire," Samira shouted as she worked furiously to keep their shields up. Lyra's heart raced as she maneuvered the ship expertly through enemy fire. "Keep us steady. We can't let them regroup." The crew worked in perfect synchrony, each member focused on their tasks. Jaden called out critical information while Samira adjusted power levels across various systems. They were a well-oiled machine, driven by a shared determination to protect humanity. As they engaged in battle, Lyra noticed something unusual on her sensors, a small Zenthari craft breaking away from its formation and heading toward Delta 5. What is that ship doing? She wondered aloud. It looks like it's trying to escape, Jaden replied, tracking its movements closely. Lyra narrowed her eyes at the screen. No one gets away. Let's intercept it before it can warn others. With deft maneuvers, she piloted the Orion toward the fleeing craft while issuing commands for weapons systems activation. Prepare to fire, she called out as they closed in on their target. Just as they were about to engage, however, something unexpected happened. The small ship transmitted a message directly to them. What is it saying? Samira asked curiously. Jaden focused intently on his console as he translated the incoming communication. It's surrendering? They're asking for asylum. Lyra hesitated for a moment. This was an opportunity unlike any other. But could they trust this Zenthari? What do you think? She asked her crew. We could gain valuable intelligence, Jaden suggested cautiously. If they're willing to share information about their plans. Lyra weighed her options carefully before making a decision that could alter everything. Bring them aboard. As they secured the small craft alongside the Orion, Lyra felt both excitement and trepidation about what lay ahead. This could be humanity's chance to turn the tide against an enemy that had caused so much pain and suffering. When the hatch opened and a lone figure emerged, a Zenthari soldier clad in dark armor, Lyra felt an unexpected mix of fear and curiosity wash over her. I am Kale, he introduced himself with surprising calmness despite being surrounded by humans ready for battle. I wish to help you. Lyra exchanged glances with her crew before stepping forward cautiously. Why should we trust you? Kale looked directly into her eyes with an intensity that made her heart race. Because I have seen what my people are capable of, and I no longer want any part in it. In that moment, Captain Lyra Voss realized that this encounter could change everything, the beginning of an alliance forged in desperation against an overwhelming enemy determined to extinguish humanity's light once and for all. As tensions eased slightly aboard the Orion, Lyra felt hope rekindle within her heart, a flicker of possibility amidst chaos, and knew that together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead with unwavering strength and resilience against all odds. The battle raged on outside as Lyra and her crew processed this unexpected turn of events. Kale stood before them, a figure representing both danger and opportunity, a living testament to humanity's capacity for understanding even in times of conflict. Tell us what you know, Lyra urged Kale, sensing that time was of the essence as explosions echoed outside their ship. The Zenthari are planning a coordinated strike against your remaining colonies, Kale explained urgently. They believe they can crush your spirit if they eliminate your leadership first. Lyra felt a chill run down her spine at his words. If they targeted key figures within Earth Command, it would leave humanity vulnerable and disorganized. How do you know this? Jaden pressed, suspicion still lingering in his tone. I was part of their tactical unit, Kale admitted reluctantly. But I defected after witnessing too many atrocities committed against innocent lives, like that child. He gestured toward a holographic display showing Lily's image captured from her drone footage. Lyra's heart clenched at the sight of Lily's smiling face juxtaposed against Kale's grim expression. This child had become a symbol of hope and loss, her death igniting a fire within Lyra's soul that would not be extinguished until justice was served. We need your help, Lyra said firmly, meeting Kale's gaze with unwavering resolve. If you can provide us with information about their strategies and weaknesses, we might stand a chance. Kale nodded slowly, determination flashing in his eyes. I will give you everything I have. With renewed purpose coursing through them all, Lyra gathered her crew around Kale as he began sharing vital intelligence about Zenthari tactics and technology, information that could potentially shift the tide of battle in favor of humanity. As Kale spoke, Lyra felt hope blossom within her heart, a feeling that had been nearly extinguished by grief and loss but now flickered back to life like a candle in darkness. They were not alone, they had allies willing to fight alongside them against overwhelming odds. "We must act quickly," Kale urged as he concluded his briefing. "The Zenthari warships are preparing for another assault." "Then let's prepare our counterattack," Lyra declared firmly. She turned to Jaden and Samira with fierce determination shining in her eyes. "We will defend our colonies and show them what humanity is capable of when pushed to its limits." With newfound strength fueling their resolve, Captain Lyra Voss and her crew set forth into battle once more, ready to confront an enemy that had underestimated humanity's spirit and ingenuity time and again. As they readied themselves for what lay ahead, an epic clash between two forces determined to claim victory, the echoes of lost lives reverberated through their minds like a haunting melody, a reminder that every step taken forward would honor those who had fallen before them. And so began another chapter in this ongoing saga, a fight not only for survival but also for justice against an empire that believed itself invincible. Earth would rise up with fury unmatched, their wrath unleashed upon those who dared harm its children. A new alliance. The Orion floated in the silence of space, a fragile sanctuary amidst the chaos of war. Captain Lyra Voss stood at the helm, her mind racing with the implications of Kale's revelations. The Zenthari were not just invaders, they were methodical, calculating, and ruthless in their pursuit of humanity's destruction. But now, with Kale's knowledge on their side, there was a glimmer of hope. "Kale," Lyra began, her voice steady but filled with urgency, "we need to devise a plan based on what you've shared. If the Zenthari are preparing for a full-scale invasion, we must act quickly." Kale nodded, his expression serious. "I can help you understand their strategies. They believe they can overwhelm your defenses by targeting key colonies first. We need to disrupt their plans before they can execute their invasion." "Let's gather the crew," Lyra said, turning to Jaden and Samira. "We need everyone's input on how to proceed." Within moments, the bridge was filled with the crew of the Orion. Each member took their place, ready to contribute to the fight for humanity's survival. First, Lyra began, addressing her team, "We need to identify the Zenthari's primary targets. Kale, can you provide us with a list of colonies they're likely to attack next?" Kale quickly accessed his data pad and pulled up a holographic display showing several colonies marked in red. "These are the most vulnerable. They lack adequate defenses and are crucial for supplying resources to Earth." Jaden leaned closer to examine the display. "If we can mobilize our forces and reinforce these colonies before the Zenthari strike, we might be able to turn the tide." "Exactly," Lyra replied, feeling a sense of urgency wash over her. "Samira, can you coordinate with Earth Command to send reinforcements? We'll need ships and personnel at each location." "I'm on it," Samira confirmed as she began sending out communications. As plans were set into motion, Lyra felt a sense of camaraderie among her crew, a shared determination that transcended fear. They were no longer just fighting for survival, they were fighting for each other and for every innocent life at stake. Preparing for battle. Hours passed as the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for what lay ahead. They coordinated with Earth Command, strategized defenses for each colony, and gathered intelligence on Zenthari movements. Lyra felt a renewed sense of purpose as she watched her team come together. "Captain," Jaden called out from his station, excitement evident in his voice. "I've intercepted communications from a Zenthari ship heading toward Colony Alpha 6. They're planning an attack within hours." Lyra's heart raced at the news. "We don't have much time. Let's move out immediately." The Orion surged forward through space, its engines humming with power as they raced against time. Lyra stood at the helm, her grip firm on the controls as she navigated through asteroids and debris. As they approached Colony Alpha 6, Lyra could see the faint outline of its protective shield flickering in the distance, a sign that it was already under attack. "Deploy drones," she commanded as they neared the colony. A swarm of microdrones launched from the Orion, racing toward Alpha 6 to provide support and gather data on enemy movements. The crew watched intently as they monitored incoming fire from Zenthari ships. "Captain," Samira reported urgently, "the colony's shields are failing. We need to engage now. Target their lead ship." Lyra shouted over the chaos unfolding outside. With precision and determination, Jaden locked onto their target and fired a volley of energy blasts that struck true against the Zenthari vessel. The enemy ship shuddered under the impact but continued its assault on Alpha 6. "Keep firing," Lyra urged as she maneuvered the Orion closer to protect the colony. The battle raged around them, energy blasts lighting up space as both sides fought fiercely for dominance. The crew worked seamlessly together, each member focused on their tasks while adrenaline coursed through their veins. A turning point. As they engaged in combat, Kale watched intently from his station. He had never fought alongside humans before but felt an overwhelming sense of purpose as he witnessed their resilience. "Captain," he called out suddenly, "if we can disable their command ship, it will disrupt their entire operation." Lyra considered this for a moment before nodding decisively. "Jaden, plot a course toward that command ship. We need to take it out." With deft maneuvers, Jaden redirected their fire toward the lead Zenthari vessel, the command ship coordinating attacks against Alpha 6. "Firing now," he announced as energy blasts erupted from the Orion, striking true against their target. The command ship trembled under fire but remained operational, its shields flickering dangerously close to failure. "Keep up the pressure," Lyra shouted as she focused on maintaining control of their ship amidst incoming fire. Just then, an alarm blared across the bridge, indicating that more enemy ships were entering the fray. "Captain, reinforcements are arriving," Jaden warned urgently. Lyra gritted her teeth but refused to back down. "We can't let them overwhelm us. Focus fire on that command ship." With renewed determination coursing through them all, they pressed forward against overwhelming odds, fueled by anger over lost lives and driven by hope for those still fighting for survival. As explosions lit up space around them and enemy vessels began to falter under their assault, Lyra felt an overwhelming sense of pride for her crew, a group united by purpose and resilience in facing adversity head-on. A moment of triumph. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of battle, their efforts paid off. The command ship erupted into a brilliant explosion as their final blast struck true. "Yes! We did it!" Jaden cheered triumphantly as cheers erupted around them. But Lyra knew better than to celebrate too early, there was still much work to be done. The remaining Zenthari ships began retreating under cover of chaos, realizing that their command structure had been dismantled. "Pursue them," Lyra ordered urgently. "We can't let them regroup." As they chased down fleeing vessels through space, debris and explosions still ringing in her ears, Lyra felt a surge of hope rekindle within her heart, a flicker of possibility amidst chaos, that humanity could rise against any foe when united in purpose. The aftermath. As battle subsided and silence fell over Colony Alpha 6 once more, Lyra took a moment to breathe deeply amidst lingering tension aboard the Orion. They had achieved victory today, but it was only one step in an ongoing struggle against an enemy determined to extinguish all light from humanity's future. Turning toward Kale, who stood silently observing, the captain felt gratitude swell within her heart. This Zenthari soldier had chosen to stand alongside them when it mattered most, a testament that even enemies could become allies when faced with true adversity. "We couldn't have done this without you," she said sincerely. Kale nodded solemnly but smiled faintly in return, understanding that together they had forged something greater than mere survival. They had begun building an alliance capable of challenging even the mightiest foes across galaxies. With renewed determination fueling every decision made moving forward, the crew prepared themselves for whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that Earth would teach its enemies what it meant to threaten humanity's children, and together they would rise stronger than ever before.